Hey there, my night travelers. Welcome back to Beyond the Map. Wherever you are, perhaps lying in bed, the lights low and the noise of the day finally slipping away, take a slow, deep breath. Let your thoughts drift past the walls around you, beyond the quiet pulse of the room, and toward a place where stories breathe beneath the stars. Tonight, we begin another journey. One not of distance, but of imagination. A story built from iron and light, from dreams that once seemed impossible. A story of a tower that was mocked, then marveled at, and finally loved. This is The Hidden Secrets of the Eiffel Tower. The city of Paris has always had a heartbeat of its own. Even in silence, it hums, through its cobblestone streets, along the ripples of the Seine, beneath the soft glow of lamps that guard the night. But long before the tower's lights ever kissed the sky, it existed only as an idea, a whisper between dreamers. It was 1884. Two engineers, Maurice Coquelin and Émile Nouguier, sat in a quiet office surrounded by drafting tables and the smell of ink on paper. Their pencils moved slowly, sketching lines that climbed higher than any structure the world had ever seen. They imagined a tower of iron, a bridge between earth and sky. When they brought their drawings to Gustave Eiffel, he did not laugh or dismiss them. He studied every curve and angle in silence, then looked up and simply said, "We will build it." Those words set a dream in motion. Soon the office filled with the sound of calculations and scratching pens. Every beam, every joint, every rivet was measured by hand. The tower would need to bend with the wind, to breathe with the seasons, and to stand as if alive. It was a conversation between gravity and grace. By 1887, the ground beside the Seine was alive with movement. Men in wool coats and flat caps worked beneath gray skies, their voices rising with the clang of iron. Rope strained, steam hissed, and slowly the foundations took shape in the mud. There were no machines to lift them, only hands, hope, and fearless balance. Paris watched with mixed hearts. Some called it madness, others genius. But most could not decide whether they were witnessing a triumph or a mistake. When the plans were finally shown to the public, the reaction was immediate and furious. Painters and poets declared it an iron nightmare, a mechanical monster that would shame their city. 300 artists signed a petition to stop the work. Eiffel answered only with quiet faith. "When it is built," he said, "you will love it." And so the workers kept building. Day by day, beam by beam, the tower rose above the rooftops, its iron arms reaching wider with every sunrise. At night, when the lamps flickered and the city fell asleep, its unfinished skeleton stood against the stars, a promise waiting to be fulfilled. By the early months of 1888, the Eiffel Tower had already begun to rise above the rooftops of Paris. Its four legs curved outward, like roots gripping the earth, each piece of iron joining another in perfect precision. From a distance, it looked fragile, a web of lines drawn against the sky. Yet up close, it felt alive, humming with the rhythm of hammers and the heartbeat of hundreds of men. They worked through wind, through winter frost, through the ache of endless repetition. There were no safety harnesses, only balance and trust. Each worker carried his courage as carefully as his tools. By March of 1888, the first platform stood 57 meters high. Crowds gathered along the riverbanks, shading their eyes from the sun to watch what many still believed was a mistake. It was said that on clear mornings, the tower caught the light like a blade. Even those who hated it could not look away. Eiffel often visited the site, moving quietly among the workers. He was not a man of loud speeches, but of steady faith. To him, every beam had a purpose, every line a kind of poetry. He once wrote, "Metal is alive if you listen closely." By 1889, after 2 years of tireless labor, the tower reached completion. On March 31st, Eiffel climbed the final steps to the top. The sky was pale and sharp, the wind strong enough to make the iron sing. He carried the French flag with him and fixed it to the summit with his own hands. Below, Paris stretched endlessly, rooftops like ripples, bridges arched across the river like threads of silver. From the ground, thousands of onlookers cheered, and for the first time, the city's doubt turned to wonder. At 324 meters tall, the Eiffel Tower became the tallest structure on Earth. It rose higher than cathedrals, higher than mountains of stone, higher than anyone had ever imagined man could build. And though it stood silent, it spoke to the world of invention, of beauty, of human defiance. That night, as the sky darkened and lamps flickered across the city, the tower cast its long shadow over the Seine. Reflections shimmered on the water like ribbons of gold. Those who had once called it ugly now stood quietly by the river, gazing upward with something close to love. Eiffel returned home that evening with ink on his hands and exhaustion in his bones. In his journal, he wrote only one line: "The dream has touched the clouds." And so, the tower began its life. Not as a symbol of pride, but of patience. It would stand through storms, through disbelief, and through time itself, waiting for the world to understand its purpose. When the World's Fair of 1889 opened, the Eiffel Tower stood as its crown, the centerpiece of a modern world that was beginning to believe in progress. People traveled from every corner of the earth to see it. Some came to marvel, others to mock, but all were drawn by curiosity. Elevators creaked and hissed as they lifted guests to the platforms. From above, Paris stretched in every direction, a patchwork of rooftops, gardens, and light. The fairgrounds below shimmered with color and sound, a vision of the future born from steam and ambition. But as the months passed, the fair came to an end. The crowds thinned. The laughter faded. And when the lights went out, the tower stood alone in the wind, a monument without a purpose. The city once again turned its back on it. Many called it a useless skeleton, a relic of an exhibition that was meant to last only 20 years. When the permit expired, officials planned to tear it down. The tower's future hung in silence. But Gustav Eiffel was not a man who built for applause. He had seen beyond the fair, beyond fame. He knew the tower could serve a greater purpose. Hidden near the top, Eiffel built a small, private apartment, a secret space few ever saw. It was modest but filled with warmth, soft wallpaper, polished wood, a piano, and a small desk by the window. From there, he would watch the sun sink into the rooftops of Paris. Visitors described the view as a private heaven. It wasn't just for comfort. Eiffel used the apartment as a laboratory. he invited scientists and meteorologists to conduct experiments, measuring air pressure, wind speeds, and radio signals. From this quiet perch in the clouds, discoveries began to ripple outward. In 1903, the first wireless transmissions were tested from the tower. Messages traveled across France, faster than any letter, through invisible air. Soon, military communication and weather forecasting used the same signal. And the tower that once faced demolition became essential. When the city council again considered dismantling it in 1909, they hesitated. By then, the tower was no longer a fairground relic. It was a living instrument, a voice that could reach beyond Paris. The tower had survived by adapting, by finding purpose where others saw only novelty. And as Eiffel grew older, he often returned to his apartment. He would sit quietly by the window, the world drifting far below, and write about the future he once imagined. Outside, the iron creaked softly in the night wind. The city lights shimmered like stars scattered across the earth. And for a man who built bridges and dreams, there could have been no sound more peaceful than that. As the new century unfolded, the Eiffel Tower stood tall over a changing world. Paris was alive with invention. Electricity hummed in the streets, cars replaced carriages, and voices crackled through the air from radios. The tower, once doubted and nearly destroyed, now became a symbol of progress, a guardian watching quietly as the world below transformed. But even iron cannot escape the storms of history. When the First World War began in 1914, Paris changed overnight. The laughter of cafes gave way to silence, and the glow of the city dimmed beneath the weight of fear. Yet high above the rooftops, the Eiffel Tower remained. No longer a monument of beauty, but a tool of survival. From its great height, French military operators installed antennas and transmitters. Messages were sent across borders, relaying intelligence that would help save lives. It is said that one of these intercepted transmissions led to the capture of enemy spies, preventing attacks on Paris itself. The tower had become the city's invisible shield. Through years of war, Gustave Eiffel's creation stood strong. And when peace finally returned, Parisians looked to the sky and saw the same iron silhouette, unchanged, unwavering. It had endured not by chance, but because it had found purpose once more. Decades later, as Europe trembled again, the tower faced its darkest chapter. In 1940, German forces entered Paris. The city fell silent beneath their boots, and the Eiffel Tower, once the pride of France, was forced to bow to occupation. Hitler ordered a flag to be raised at its peak, but when his men attempted to climb the stairs, they found the lift cables mysteriously severed. The elevators were out of service, and no one offered to repair them. The flag, they say, was smaller than planned, and soon blew away in the wind. During those years, the tower became a quiet act of defiance. While Nazi banners hung from its frame, Parisians refused to look away. They saw in it not submission, but resilience. A reminder that even under shadow, France still stood tall. When the war ended and the lights of Paris flickered back to life, the Eiffel Tower once again became a beacon. Its iron bones had seen sorrow. Its height had carried secrets. But its presence had never wavered. As the bells of liberation echoed through the streets, the tower shimmered against the dawn. Not triumphant, not proud, but peaceful. It had survived again, not through strength alone, but through endurance. When the war ended, Paris awoke slowly. as though the city itself had been holding its breath. Streets once filled with soldiers now overflowed with laughter. The scent of coffee returned to the air, and the sound of music drifted through open windows again. And standing above it all, unchanged yet somehow softer, was the Eiffel Tower. The people of Paris looked up at it with new eyes. No longer just a monument of steel, it had become a symbol of survival. Proof that even beauty made of iron could endure the world's darkest nights. In the years that followed, the tower began to glow again, not just in light, but in meaning. As France rebuilt, artists and poets returned to the city, carrying their dreams with them. To the world, Paris once again became a beacon of romance, of culture, of everything beautiful that could rise from hardship. And at the heart of it all stood the tower, quiet, patient, unchanging. Couples walked beneath it at dusk. Painters set up their easels along the riverbanks to capture its reflection on the Seine. Writers called it a poem written in the language of stars. By the 1950s, the Eiffel Tower had become the face of Paris. It appeared on postcards, posters, and silver screens, its outline recognized across oceans. What once divided the city now united the world. Tourism grew with each passing year. Children pressed their hands to the glass of elevators as they rose through its iron skeleton, eyes wide as clouds drifted past. From the top, lovers scribbled their names on postcards and promised to return. For many, reaching the summit felt like touching the heart of Paris itself. And yet, even amid the noise of admiration, the tower remained humble. It did not speak of victory or fame. It simply stood, as it always had, a quiet observer of life unfolding beneath it. Every day it watched the city change. Fashions, cars, languages, faces. Yet the rhythm of the Seine never stopped, and neither did its reflection. When night fell, the tower became a lighthouse. Hundreds of lamps shimmered to life, spreading golden light across the rooftops. From far away, travelers could see its gentle glow and know they were nearing home. In that light, Paris rediscovered itself, not through power or pride, but through wonder. The Eiffel Tower had outlived its critics, survived 2 wars, and outshone centuries of doubt. It had become more than an invention. It was a reminder that beauty, once imagined, can last forever. Time, like the river that curves through Paris, never stops moving. Decades passed, and the Eiffel Tower remained. Steady, patient, always waiting. New generations came and went, carrying cameras instead of sketchbooks, their eyes wide with the same wonder felt a century before. In 1985, the tower found its new voice. Thousands of sparkling bulbs were added to its frame, designed to shimmer every evening for just a few precious minutes. At first, Parisians were divided. Some thought it too bright, too modern. But when the lights flickered to life for the first time, something changed. The tower no longer just stood in the night. It glowed. Its golden sparkle rippled across the river, catching in the eyes of strangers and lovers alike. For 5 minutes each hour, it became the heartbeat of Paris, a quiet pulse of light that reached across the city. People began to gather beneath it again. They sat on the grass at the Champ de Mars, sharing bread and stories, watching as the iron giant shimmered against the dusk. Children pointed upward, laughing as if the stars themselves had descended for a moment. And for many, that light became something deeply personal, a symbol of hope, of connection, of everything gentle that still exists in the world. The Eiffel Tower no longer belonged to France alone. It belonged to everyone who ever dreamed of seeing it, to those who crossed oceans to stand beneath its arches, to those who whispered promises from afar, to those who believed that beauty could still exist, even in a restless world. On clear nights, the tower's beam sweeps across the horizon, slow, deliberate, like the turning of a page. Pilots say you can see it from more than 200 kilometers away. It has become both a landmark and a lighthouse, a guide for travelers finding their way home. In the quiet hours before dawn, when the city sleeps, the tower hums softly. The metal cools. The wind moves gently through its beams, and the streets below fall silent. It is in these moments, when the world isn't watching, that the Eiffel Tower feels most alive. It has seen revolutions, celebrations, heartbreaks, and rebirths. It has watched the seasons circle endlessly, the snow, the blossoms, the warm rain, the autumn fog, and through it all, it has remained the same, graceful, still, eternal. Each sunrise paints it in gold once more, and each night carries its glow across the river. The Eiffel Tower, born from an engineer's dream, has become something far greater. A story without end. As the city sleeps beneath a blanket of soft light, the Eiffel Tower stands watch, quiet, graceful, eternal. It has outlived its critics, outshone its purpose, and become something more than its iron frame. It is no longer just a monument. It is memory. Each rivet, each beam, carries the fingerprints of those who built it. Men who worked through rain and wind, who believed in the impossible. Each platform has felt the footsteps of countless dreamers who climbed for a view and left with something greater. Perspective. And even now, after more than a century, the tower continues to change with the world. It mirrors the sky, pale at dawn, golden at dusk, silver beneath the moon. It has become the heartbeat of Paris, a silent witness to love stories whispered beneath its shadow, and promises sealed in its light. People from every corner of the earth have stood beneath it, strangers in the same moment, all looking upward. That's what makes the Eiffel Tower more than metal. It's connection. It's wonder. It's the quiet reminder that dreams, once doubted, can still reach the clouds. As you listen now, wherever you are, imagine standing there, the cool breeze on your face, the city glittering below, the sound of life drifting up from the streets. Maybe you hear laughter. Maybe you just hear the soft rhythm of your own breathing. Either way, it's peace, and perhaps that's the real secret of the Eiffel Tower. Not its height or its design, but what it makes us feel. That sense of stillness in a busy world. That proof that even the heaviest of things can rise with grace. So, as you drift into rest, my night travelers, let your mind wander beyond the map. There are countless stories waiting, quiet secrets tucked into mountains, temples, deserts, and seas. Every place on Earth has a voice, if you listen closely enough. If you've enjoyed tonight's story, there are more hidden wonders to explore. The forgotten temples of Cambodia, the silent stones of Machu Picchu, the glowing fjords of Norway, and the stories buried deep beneath ancient sands. Each one has its own rhythm, its own light, its own secret waiting to be told. And one by one, we'll uncover them together. Until next time, rest easy and dream wide. You've been listening to Beyond the Map. Good night, my night travelers.